top5rapwebsite.com. You already know what's going on. Today we have Jay-Z 444 album review. So I know some of you have been asking for this. It's been like 4 years since this album came out. I don't think I ever did an official album review. I think I kind of just tweeted out my thoughts when it came out. So of course that is all lost on my timeline. So people were asking, especially with me doing the Jay-Z CD of the week and the Jay-Z Rate the Bars, they're like, hey, like just do this Jay-Z 444 review. So yeah, this is the 444 album review. So this is not one of my reactions. I'm not going to go through and listen to each song. I think we've all heard this album. If you haven't heard this album yet, just pause this video. So 444, this was a very welcomed album by Jay-Z. I remember social media when this album came out. It had been quite a while since Jay-Z's prior drop, which was Magna Carta Holy Grail, a drop that some people thought was a little mediocre, okay? So I think the vibes that are on, or I won't say vibes, we'll use a better word. I think the persona that Jay-Z is showing, you know, that side of his personality, I guess is more so what it is, that he's showing on 444 is almost complete opposite of Magna Carta Holy Grail. It's the same in some ways in that he's in that space of, I guess, elitism and, you know, that top 1 to 2% within hip hop. He's positioning himself like that, like Jay-Z has always done. He's always positioned himself like, I'm getting the most money. I'm in the top 1% of this in terms of bars and in terms of you know, business acumen. So there's some of that on Magna Carta Holy Grail. He shows himself and presents himself in very prestigious, I guess, situations. He's really attaching himself to high-end art and just the value that comes with that. So that's kind of what he's doing. When back on Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z was attaching himself to mafioso type characters and that whole mafioso scene, that Scarface, that Godfather scene, he was kind of attaching himself to that, and that presented himself in the rhymes. You know, Magna Carta Holy Grail, he's kind of taking that art as an influence, as opposed to movies as an influence on Reasonable Doubt. He's taking art on Magna Carta Holy Grail, European art to be specific, things like the Louvre Museum, things like the Mona Lisa. And he's really gaining a lot of influence from that. You can feel like a lot of his bars are coming from the space of him being like, yeah, I'm that guy. Yeah, I'm in the Louvre. Yeah, I just bought an artwork for $3 million. And he kind of keeps that on 444. But 444 is more black. Whereas Magna Carta Holy Grail, that was kind of a different era, right? That's kind of like 2013. And I think around 2014, 2015, that's kind of when you saw another wave of black consciousness come in to America and to the black people in America. So we kind of were hungry for the type of content that was on 444 when it came out. Talk about, you know, financial freedom and things like credit, the importance of owning your own labor. So we were kind of hungry for that. 2013, that was kind of bubbling, but it was kind of somewhere else. It was more, you know, let's floss, you know, let's show what we have and things that are inaccessible to other people. I'm kind of painting the difference between Magna Carta Holy Grail and 444. I'm kind of comparing and contrasting those to perceive what I thought Hov was doing on 444. So again, Magna Carta Holy Grail, high end. It's like a Birkin bag. A lot of people didn't like the album too much. A lot of people felt like there's like too much talk of and praise of like these European, you know, just staples that we consider staples in society. Things that have always just been lauded and praised and worshipped just because they're located where they're located. And on 444, it kind of switched that. He's still talking about his artwork, but he's talking directly to his black audience, it feels like, on 444. So I think even when you look at an album like Kendrick Lamar To Pimp a Butterfly, I think that's an important album, because without that album, I think 444 kind of took some influence from that album, because To Pimp a Butterfly is obviously 2 years younger. So that black consciousness that created 444 was kind of already here 2 years earlier, but it just kicked off kind of around the time that Kendrick dropped To Pimp a Butterfly. So anyways, 444, let's get to the album. We've kind of set up the context already. Easily, 444, I think it's better than Magna Carta Holy Grail. Even Magna Carta Holy Grail had this huge, like, everything about the album was grandiose. Like, I remember him performing like in some art museum, rapping the lyrics to Picasso Baby, like him having like artsy people come and dance the lyrics to it. Then in the context of what was happening, you know, the listeners, the audience in general enjoyed this. Like, they're like, wow, Hov is with this art guy, he's with this millionaire, like, And then he had this whole rollout on, I believe it was Apple on iPhones, where the album sold 1 million just out the gate. He had commercials. It was very grand, even down to the music and what he's rapping about. Everything about Magna Carta Holy Grail had this grand type feel. Whereas 444, if I remember correctly, did this album just was a surprise drop? He kind of stripped it out. He kind of humbled himself on 444. I think after seeing where we were as a society and kind of seeing what we would have needed as a society and things we needed to hear, and he kind of humbled himself and became a teacher. So songs like Story of OJ, he's really just breaking it down to you. He really, there are parts of that song where he really isn't even rapping. He's just kind of talking like, you want to know how this group of people got this much money? Like, they did it this way. Like, he ain't rhymed in like 3 bars. He really just telling you, like, bro, like, I'm really just trying to give you this information. Like, forget trying to make a dope song, even though it is a dope song. So, and I think we hear this a lot on 444 also, and especially on Everything Is Love, which came either right after 444 or right before. If you remember, all this is off the top of my head. I just have the track list to 444 open. I don't have the wiki or anything to vet these dates. So if you remember which one came first, Everything Is Love or 444, let me know. But on Everything Is Love, he kind of suffers from the same thing as he does on 444, which is like overloading his lines with words to the point where his flow is off. So I speak about this with certain rappers. They'll sacrifice, or someone like Drake even, and others, they'll sacrifice rhyming in order to denote or speak about or describe a very specific event or person or what have you. Like, for them in this moment, in that moment, describing in full description is more important to them than rhyming. So you'll hear artists do that, especially when they want their message to be heard. So I think in this era, like whatever time period Hov was doing 444 and Everything Is Love, he was really kind of overloading his bars with words. And I think that may just be because how much he was feeling at the time. Maybe he had so much to say. There are certain points on this album where he spits bars and it's like he has a bar where he says like, y'all be doing the most under them IG pictures, something, tell him Blanco sent you. And you hear the bar where he's talking about the IG pictures, and there's just so many words in that bar. It's almost like, it almost doesn't flow. And that's not something you hear Jay-Z on like any of the rest of his albums. He's not like a guy like a Doom, MF Doom or something like that, who's known for an off-kilter flow. Jay-Z is known for a very silky, smooth, butter flow. That's like the #1 thing he's known for is his flow. So to hear him on this album, he's kind of, the flow is like, it's almost off. And on Everything Is Love, you can hear it more. The flow is like, he's putting so much in there because he's trying to, like, he has so much to say, I feel like. And it doesn't sound bad, like, listening to it. I'm a guy who listens to guys like Earl, Sweatshirt, guys like MF Doom, Dell, LP. I'm used to hearing, like, off-kilter, like, unorthodox flows. So I can listen to that for an extended period of time and not really be bothered by it. And this is Jay-Z, like it's not that off-kilter. But I do notice it, and it doesn't happen really on any of his other albums. And also on 444, we see a very vulnerable Jay-Z. So, and I spoke about this on some of my other Jay-Z videos, including the CD of the week, I believe. On Jay-Z's albums, you very rarely catch Jay-Z like in a vulnerable, very introspective, thinking about his own life. You rarely catch him in song form. I think prior to 444, there was maybe, you could probably on one hand count the songs where Jay-Z did that. Lucky Me, which is very early album. You Must Love Me. Soon You'll Understand. Oh, and Where Have You Been? And that's pretty much one hand. Lucky Me, You Must Love Me, Soon You'll Understand, and Where Have You Been? And if you know any more songs other than that where he got vulnerable, introspective, put them in the comments, because I can count them on one hand. And those songs are kind of spaced out. Like, one is on one album, one is on the other. There's like a 3-album gap, then he puts another one. I remember like 09, 010, like that was a knock. People who were very into hip hop and that critique artists down to a T. One of their things about Jay-Z, there's not much you can critique him on. But, you know, he doesn't have those introspective songs like you hear from other people, from his peers that you rank him against. Biggie, Pac, you know what I'm saying? that's the tier he's in. So on 444, this is a whole album of straight vulnerability. The very first song, Kill Jay-Z. Track number 5, 444. Track number 6, Family Feud. Track number 9, Marcy Me, and I believe track number 8, Moonlight, gets into that. So we get a very vulnerable Hove, and it's a very different type of album from Jay-Z that we had ever gotten. Which, you know, what is this, 12th, 13th album? I don't know what number album this is by Jay-Z, but to get an album that's completely new and fresh and features things he's never done before, and it even kind of features this flow, like that's kind of like stacking on top of each other that we had never heard before. Very refreshing. Very rare to get something like that from an artist in any genre after this many releases, to release something so completely fresh and new. So 444 got a lot of love when it first came out, largely because like when you listen to this album, you've never heard Jay-Z like this. Like you're hearing Jay-Z like for the millionth time, but you're hearing him in a space that you had never heard before, coming off a slight disappointment, which is Magna Carta Holy Grail. Like, so he's gonna surpass your expectations. So a lot of people really love this album. I really like this album. When I decided to do this review, I thought I was gonna have more bad things to say about it, because I remember listening to a song, I think it was Story of OJ, and I remember just listening to it like, this album isn't really, or this song rather, really isn't moving me as much. But I have to remember the context and the time in which it came out. The Story of OJ was like, this song served a big purpose. It served like a purpose in black consciousness. I'm not black, I'm OJ, and everything that's happened around that time. Certain people trying to disassociate themselves. Certain people don't want to look at the news and see what's going on because they don't want to play their consciousness. They feel like it's whatever. They want to disassociate themselves. So just the black consciousness side of Story of OJ was one thing, but then there's the whole other side, which is the financial side, which probably started LLC Twitter, which really helped pioneer this new wave of black business consciousness and ownership, which was already going on before this album, but this album helped serve as a catalyst. So that talk just got louder. So very important album in Jay-Z's discography. We're talking about vulnerability. We're talking about culture-changing trends, black consciousness, financial consciousness within the black community, and most importantly, just dope songs. My favorite song in here is probably Family Feud, probably Bam, probably Marcy Me, Story of OJ I can listen to, but not too much. Because again, on Story of OJ, it's not that flow that I like from Jay-Z. He's not on there flowing. But that's also, I gotta remember the context. Like he's talking, like he's trying to really give a message to you on that song specifically, and on some of the songs on this album, as well as Everything Is Love, which I believe is the same studio session. So yeah, man, 444, I give this a solid 4 stars. Excellent album. It's not my favorite Jay-Z album, but it's up there. Like, you feel me? This is a great album. I like Volume 1. I like My Reasonable Doubt. I like Dynasty. I like The Blueprint, and I like the Black Album. So and I like American Gangster. So I probably won't put it above any of those. But those are all amazing. This is Jay-Z's discography. This is an amazing album. So an album is great as 444. 4 stars, excellent. It might end up number 5, number 6, but I still really like this album, and it's a very important album. Came out in 2017. Doesn't even seem that long ago. So, for you folks who have been asking me to do 444, I hope you're happy. This is my album review. And artists, be sure to submit your album for review. I would do a full album review, album reaction, whichever you prefer, just let me know. I've streamlined that process to submit your album. Just go to top5rapwebsite.com, go to that menu and click submit album for review. Very self-explanatory. Again, I'll do a song by song reaction, listen to it live for the first time, or I'll just give it a couple weeks, listen to it, and then after a couple weeks and review that for you guys, just like I did this album. If you have questions, you could always just comment below. Anyways, that was Jay-Z 444 review. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And this is top5rapwebsite.com. Peace.